actually really important for me when I was looking for jobs and what to do, because I wanted to find a job when I was a junior. Because I didn't want to be a senior and then not have a job when I graduated. Because too many of my friends graduating, it took them 5 or 6 months to find a job, and I didn't want to do that. Because I'm a single mom and I work and I go to school, and when I was done school, I wanted to just work and not be stressing about money and where it's coming from. Because I don't know about you guys, but I lived on my scholarships while I was in school. And so when I knew they were ending, I had to make sure I filled it. So LinkedIn actually helped. I had 2 different internships that I got that were, one of them was via LinkedIn, the other one's not. But it's kind of where the world is going now. And I reached out, I have a whole bunch of people that I talk to that are marketing people in different parts. Because I work with people all over from Texas all the way up to Washington. So I talked to a lot of them to get some information of their feedback on LinkedIn, because I personally, I've used it on kind of your receiving side, but I wanted to get their feedback on the end of hiring people, because I've hired people before, but not in the LinkedIn status or anything like that. So bear with me. If I talk too fast, just wave at me. I tend to do that when I talk. So.
Did you guys have class at 1?
No.
I got class at 1, so I guess like 12:50 or something.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, hold on. Let me put my phone outside. There's no.
I can let you know when you're close to.
Perfect. Okay, so basically, LinkedIn, the best way to do it, I'm going to show you kind of the ideas we have, and the best way to do it is really to sit down and say, okay, these are the to-do lists, I need to go fix mine, and it should take you 5 minutes to fix it, and then an hour to go in depth and make it better. So don't think there's too much you can do. Even 5 minutes of work will be helpful. I don't know how this works. There it goes. Okay, so the very first thing they said is you have to be able to sell yourself. I used screenshots of all my LinkedIn, so you may recognize some people on here, I don't know. But you have to be able to sell yourself right away. There's 3 people here. Someone's looking, I just Googled healthcare admin, and there's 3 people that came up that were connections with me indirectly. So they're connected with some of my people. You can kind of tell right now, Sean or, they're not going to get looked at. Because how do I know they're not spam? There's no picture, there's no description. It says that they do something at school. Okay, great. This one, the Corey one, also not all that descriptive because it doesn't have everything about it. What you want to make sure you do is you have your face there, you have your job title there. Even if your job title is something like a full-time student, or it's like if you're an executive in a club, you put that down. Something you do, you want something there, and then you also want the industry of where you're going into. So Corey's is almost there, but it has his industry on there. You can kind of see it grayed off on the side. That part, most students forget. And that's the part where people actually find you easier when they're looking through search results.
With what?
Right here. It says hospital and healthcare. That's their industry. Does that make sense? So don't skip that part. That's one of those ones, oh, who cares? It doesn't matter. If you pick what industry you want to be in, then people are going to look you better in that industry. So you want to make sure, you can also, once you've gotten on LinkedIn and you're working more on building, not when you're getting hired, a lot of people recommend that you change your title of your job to something more standout-ish if you're trying to collect more people. But when you're hiring, you really don't want to do that. A lot of times they'll say, okay, don't say you're in charge of something, say you're the thinker, or things like that. You want to really make sure you keep your keywords in there, because people are going to be Googling keywords.
Just from a hiring perspective, you don't want to be descriptive?
When you're trying to get hired, don't use funny words. People are going to be using keywords. You want to keep the keywords there. So healthcare administration or something. And don't do admin or any of those abbreviations. Those are just annoying to everybody.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in college, whatever they work, but people out in the field, it just drives us insane. Just take 2 more seconds to write the rest of it out. Especially people who are older than me, they get even more annoyed than I do. All right, the next thing is you really want to stand out. You can go in, it's kind of like Facebook. Put in a cover photo. It doesn't have to be anything. Just put a cover photo in. Make sure your picture is extremely professional. You don't need selfies. You don't want anything to do with Facebook casual kind of things. If it would be your Facebook profile picture, it probably shouldn't be here. You want something that looks like where you want to be. So if you want to be someone that's professional, you need to have a professional picture. And this is one of those ones where it's just kind of a marketing standpoint, but it's better to offset your picture. Keep the rule of thirds. Do you all know the rule of thirds? Like divide a thing in thirds, so there's 3 sections. That you want it on one of those lines. So just, it's a marketing perspective. If you offset your picture a little bit, it looks better. It's not as like, oh, this guy's kind of awkward looking at me. crazy. You don't want them to know anything about you in regards to your political views, your views on guns, your views on healthcare, none of that. I've seen so many different background shots, I'm just like, don't do that. Don't show your kids if you have kids. Don't show your family. You can be smiling if you want, but don't show personal things about you, because that's not what they want. That just clutters it. Alright, the next one is you need to be reachable, and I am not personally reachable right now because I get a lot of job offers, and I have been for the past year because I was really actively looking for it. So I actually took my phone number and my personal address off my LinkedIn profile. But normally it would be listed right here, and these are hyperlinks. It will take people to my portfolio and to the website that I'm currently developing for the company I'm working for. Those kind of things, put them in there. Doesn't matter if it's not something you've made, if it's a way to reach you through your company, if you have a company you work part-time for, throw it in there, because the easier people can reach you, the more likely they are to actually reach you. And I'm not talking about just sending people in the mail, because the LinkedIn mail, a lot of people do that to connect, but if they're actually interested in hiring you and finding out more about you, they're usually going to connect that way as well as another way, because that's not always something that we can rely on.
So the company website, that's something you're doing because you're working
So mine
on?
says company website because I put that there because I used to have it, the company I work for, and it was their general website, so you could have, my information was listed on their list of people you could like to go into the website. It says my name and my extension and everything. I didn't want that there anymore because I was tired of getting calls offering me new jobs because I found a job. I'm good for now. So I took that off, and I just have a company website that I'm currently working on, so it's a demonstration of what I can do in there. So if someone really wants to, they can still track me down, but it's not listed it doesn't link directly to a directory of staff for the company.
So I've designed a few websites, but I want to put that on there?
That'll be later on, I'll show you where. Also, if you blog or do any kind of Twitter or anything in a professional thing, it's not your personal one. You do it for a club, if you do it for any small companies, not-for-profits, anyone you work for, then you can put all that linked up there so they can kind of see how to get a hold of you as well. Alright, the next part is your summary. This is the next thing down, and you can change what order these are in on your thing. But basically, you put in your resume, but you make it really small and short, but you want to say it. You want it to be action verbs, just like your resume. And this is an outdated one, so you don't have to go too close, but that's my resume. And you want to make sure you use those keywords. Anything that you have in your resume that are keywords, in your cover letters, any of that stuff, use those keywords and make sure they're active. You don't want any past tense things for things that are current, and you always want to use numbers if you have them. And not every job is going to be able to give you numbers, but if you can figure out some way to use numbers to show what you've done, what you've grown, somehow, that's going to be really important. And this section, it really is all the things you've heard about resumes. You're going to want to do that in here, but keep it way more brief. This is also when you're looking for a job in the summary section. That's the first thing you want to say. I am looking for this job in this industry. You have a specific company or a group of companies. You want to say that first off in the summary. Because the first thing you do when a recruiter comes, they're going to come to the summary section. They're going to see, okay, this is your resume. Oh, first line, they want a job. This is what they're looking for. Perfect. I want that, or no, that's not what I'm going for, so go for something else. But you want to list, if you're actively looking, you want to list that right here. You can also put links in here to, if you have a Vita or a portfolio online, any of that kind of stuff, you can link it in here, but keep it towards the bottom of the summary section. Alright, the next thing, this is where connecting in college really comes in handy, because the more people you have endorsing you, the better it is. And all of these are things that I've listed that I know how to do, and then people I've connected with throughout the years since I got LinkedIn have said, yep, she knows how to do it, I've seen it. And you can change what order these are in. Some of these things are less important to me. For example, fundraising I used to have way up at the top because I was first looking for a job that involved a lot of that kind of stuff, so I was going for not-for-profits. Now, not so much, so I moved it down. Advertising, customer service is more what I'm going for. And so those are higher up. And you can move those around. Right now, they're just ordered however you put them, but they will do, they'll suggest them sometimes. So LinkedIn will tell your friends, hey, will you recommend her for something? And sometimes it's not something you know how to do. So make sure you go in here every now and again and check your recommendations and get rid of stuff you don't know. Because LinkedIn will say, hey, she probably knows this, do you wanna, and sometimes they just say yes. They don't think, they don't ask, they don't know. Make sure you know how to do everything actually listed in what you do. Even if you only know a little bit, it's okay, you're working on it. But don't have anything you don't know. And connect with everybody in your clubs and stuff, because that'll actually, most of these people on here are connections I got via the clubs I was in, and then they've gone on, not necessarily in the club, but with the people like the guest speakers and stuff, and then they've all gone and endorsed me, and some of them are teachers too. They're like, yep, we taught her how to do that.
How do you get them to say, yep, they know how to do it?
It's a button on LinkedIn. You just go and endorse, and you go endorse your friends, and it's just, you go in there, and it says endorse whoever for whatever, like it's a button, you just push, yep, endorse. And then it'll send them a message saying that you endorse them, and then it'll request them to endorse you back on something else. Does that make sense? So LinkedIn, it's got it all taken care of for us. You just have to go in there and play around and click buttons. Yep, this person I've seen do this, I've seen them do that. And not only do you endorse them, but then it sends them a message, hey, please endorse me back. And so they'll pick something that they've seen you do. Usually, not all the time. Some people don't really check their LinkedIn that often. All right, the next thing is be very, very specific in what you have done. And this is not just new jobs. Being in college, especially this one, you get a lot of hands-on work. I don't know about your degree specifically, but we worked with companies specifically and had projects that were out of, like real company projects that we brought in and worked on. Put that stuff down here. Tell them, I worked for this company doing this while at school. This is what we did. This is how I helped them. Put this stuff in here. Once you are in like the work field, you're going to fill this in more with work experience and everything. But while you're a student trying to get hired out, you want to make sure you put in those different projects and everything. You want to put in specifically what you've done, and this is where you're going to link in what you were talking about earlier. These are actually hyperlinks that will take you to some of the graphics design I've done for the different projects that I've worked on for those different events that were put on. So this is kind of like your experience section of your resume, but you want it less words and more visual. The more pictures you can put in this section, the better. And I'm not saying overload it with just pictures and nothing else, but if you've got an example of something you've done, whether it's a picture of something you've worked on or it's a project you've worked on, link it in here so they can see a sample of your work of what you did for them, for the other company that you've got listed here. Does that make sense? And again, just be really thorough, numbers if you can, and action verbs and everything as well. It's pretty important to keep that action, and I did this for them because of this, it changed it by this percentage, whatever you need to do. But keep it really action oriented. Now the fun part, how to actually connect on LinkedIn when you already have all your connections and everything going. It's actually to be active in groups. Go pick some groups. Some of these groups are groups that I actually, they're not showing them. I'm in a group that I started actually for my club. And just all of our guest speakers, we added them to the group. That way everyone in the club would be automatically be able to find them easily in LinkedIn. Because to add someone in LinkedIn, you have to have a shared connection. Unless you pay for the extra. And I don't pay for the extra, but I have friends who are recruiters, they do pay for the extra, and they can see a lot more. But if you have a club, you can join that and do it that way, but then you can also, oh no, it's actually this one right here. There's 5 active members right now because I'm not in the club anymore, so. But you can go through these, and some of these are just, this is what I've done, this is what I work on. Other ones I actually follow. There's a, I don't know if I have it up here. Yep, this one right here. I love this one because there are some really, really high up chief marketing executives in there posing questions, asking things. It's just kind of like Facebook groups, if you use those very often. They'll post a question and want feedback. And you give feedback and make sure it's valuable feedback. Not, yep, I agree with you. Okay. But valuable feedback in these forums because that actually gets you connected with more people, and that's where you're going to find more jobs, is via people in the industries that you're interested in. And not all of my groups are actually, I guess you could say, professionally related. Some of my groups are in the not-for-profits that I'm part of too, because it's important to look like you have other things you care about more than just your job. But within there, just make comments, follow them. If you can't follow them all the time, it's fine. Just jump on there every now and again and read a thread or two. It'll usually, you can set it up so you can email about threads for certain groups, and other groups you can be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Things like that. You just really want to make sure, though, that you're constructive, you don't repeat what people have already said. Anything industry, position related, or general interest, I think I already said that. Another way is you can share relevant content. You can share it within the groups, or you can share it on the homepage. Do you guys have LinkedIn already? Or like, to some degree, you've already figured it out. So you can share it on your homepage and share interesting articles you like there. But I find it more successful to share it within groups, because then people comment and talk about it, and if it's relevant, it actually makes you stand out to the crowd. Alright, and the next one I kind of touched on a little bit is you need to actually care about something. And I haven't really bothered to expand this one much. I just put down one thing. But any volunteer work you've done, anything you've done that shows that you care about something outside of just being, rich and making money, put it in here. Put down what you volunteered for, put down what companies you work for, if you do service as part of your club, any of that kind of stuff.
I was looking for that on LinkedIn and I couldn't quite find where to put it in there. Or like where it goes, or is it under interest?
It's called volunteer experience and causes.
Okay.
It's just, you can Google it, volunteer maybe, I think, or something like that.
So you would put your club experience though in
Yeah, and I filled
experiences?
out, mine is not always what to do, mine is this is what not to do right here. I was in a couple clubs and we had a lot of service projects we did. I would put that in here if I was using my brain, because then if someone in the same club but somewhere else used it or saw it and saw someone we worked for or the club that I was part of, then they would be like, oh hey, they do service too.
So the club itself, you put in experiences, but the like service you did in the club.
Yes, this is more the service side. This isn't what you've done that gave you education, this is what you've done to give back to other people. This is more like, for example, one thing I was going to put in here but I haven't is I run a pro bono marketing thing for small businesses in Idaho Falls. And I haven't bothered to put it up there because I really haven't tried very hard on my LinkedIn since I graduated, because I'm like, I got my job, I'm good. But I would put that in there because it's showing, hey, I'm working and it's work experience, but I'm doing it pro bono because the companies I do it for, I kind of go through the ringer first to make sure they're actually worth it. And then when I realize they don't have money but they have the dream and the passion, I'll help them do their marketing. And so that's kind of something that shows that I can give back to the community. And then also things like, I was in APSI and other crap stuff. Sorry.
Don't worry, it's not getting sent to them.
But we did a ton of service projects for them, and so I think that kind of stuff would work too. And in some of my classes we did service projects we did like Make-A-Wish and some other ones. So putting those kind of bigger names in there helps people recognize, okay, you do actually care and you're trying for companies to make a difference. Alright, next one, education. Some people say it doesn't matter. It does. Every single person I've talked to, it matters. They want to know where you went to school. They want to know what you did at school. And just list out whatever you're part of, whatever you do. I wrote out the thing for the Marketing Association because that's what I was doing at the time when I filled this out. But you can list out in activities and societies way more than just one event and how to find it about it. It shows people that you were active in school and did a lot of things. And it shows that you care about your school. You can also put in things about your classes if you took specialties or if you did an emphasis. Anything that you're like, hey, I like this kind of class better, you can put that in there. Just say, hey, this, and this were my favorite class. It's always better to have something written there than to have nothing. Because the more you can tell them, the more they're going to realize you're a person that's worth looking into. Does that make sense?
How do you separate like this section from your experience? Like say I'm president of the 2 clubs, would I put that here or in the experience?
I would put it in the experience and then just list it here. In the other part, you're going to list the club and being president and what you did as president and what responsibilities you had. Here, you're just going to say it. You're just
president
going to say this
president is blah, blah.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you're not going to want to list out what you, like all of the descriptions here because you've got it over there. Just mention back to it. So there's going to be a lot of other sections on LinkedIn you can add. Some of them work, some of them don't. If you're published, you have articles written up. If you have a website that published one of your articles you wrote, any kind of comments, anything, newspaper clippings, I guess.